I was actually talking to my stepmom today about how like my job's kind of weird or whatever. And of course, as usual, she had to rub in my fucking cult running days in high school. And she's like, well, it started with a cult. I guess it's going to end with a cult. I was like, you cannot say that kind of shit. Shut the fuck up. Very evil. Very evil behavior. Oh, Newsaters don't know that story? Do you guys want to hear the story? Or are you guys familiar? If you're familiar, I'll leave it alone. I don't want to inundate you with stories you've already heard. Cult running days. I've missed out on some serious lore. Nothing super serious, actually. It's not like it was an official cult or anything. All right, listen. So the cult story is like this. When I was in high school, I had some acquaintances, not friends, because I never had friends. Never had them, never will. I had some acquaintances who thought it would be funny to start a cult, essentially. As a joke, you know, like every edgy fucking teenager, I had a god complex, basically, is what it boiled down to. Like, that's what I'm getting at. I had a god complex, and I would constantly, you know, like, people would be like, oh my god, and I was the type of guy, I'd be like, yes, which every fucking idiot has made that stupid joke at some point, because they think they're fucking God's gift to earth, or the funniest motherfucker that ever lived. Anyway, at some point, that joke kept going a little bit too far, and people kept being like, "Oh, ruse!" Like, you know, like my friends were like, "Ruse!" Like, if we did have a church, like, what would my role be? I'm like, I don't fucking know. They're like, well, just, you know, if you had to guess, I'm like, fucking, you'd be the chaplain, or you'd be like a cardinal, or you'd be like a saint, or whatever. And people kept asking this enough that they eventually started like, I don't know, like the equivalent of fucking early kin signing themselves, essentially. And it got to a point where I had like a legitimate pseudo cult going, of people who were just basically being like, oh, okay, so like I am the chaplain of the Church of Ruse. And I'm like, dude, what? No. And they would say this shit like publicly, like in front of teachers. I'm like, don't say that. You sound stupid. You make us sound like psychopaths. And they kept going and kept going and kept going. And it got to a point where I had to be like, all right, don't talk about it around me. I don't care what you do on your own. Don't talk about it around me. And that was fine for a while, and I thought it died off and they gave it up and left it alone. Turns out they did not. A couple of them were underclassmen. So I left high school, I went off to college or whatever. And my little brother eventually went to high school behind me a few years later. And he reported back that the Church of Ruse was still going strong. Long hints. People who did not know who I was. And there had no reason to. It's not like I was ever a popular guy or anything. It's not like I like did sports or was well known. Like they at this point were just running it off of the concept that it existed, I guess. They were just like, yes, the Church of Ruse, of course. And I'm like, oh, fucking no shot, dude, no shot. So I had inadvertently started a cult of personality that I no longer had control of or anything to do with, which was a little jarring, obviously. What a grand and intoxicating innocence. Indeed. And for a long time, those guys still called themselves their associated titles until I stopped talking to them because it was getting really weird. And they started taking it a little bit too seriously and designing ceremonies and like different types of like not ways of worship, but like small, like I guess rituals they would do. It was getting weird. Hey, Ruse, if we started a new cult, what would my role be? I'm not answering that. I'm not fucking answering that. I'm not answering that. I'll never answer that ever. I learned my lesson that day, that year. So yeah, I started a cult. It has nothing to do with me anymore. I take no responsibility for what's left of that cult. That is not my business.